The sound finds you first, before your eyes open, before you remember where you are. Metal on metal. The grinding shriek of hinges that haven't been oiled in years. Your eyes snap open to darkness, and for a moment, your heart does something. It shouldn't, it races. You're lying on a cot. Thin mattress. The kind that's been here longer than you have, molded by 1,000 bodies before yours. Around you, in the pre-dawn black of the dormitory, others are still asleep. Rows and rows of them, pressed shoulder to shoulder in the industrial gloom. The air tastes like recycled breath and machine oil. You can feel the vibration of the great forges through the metal frame beneath you. That constant, endless thrumming that never stops, even at night. The footsteps are coming closer. You know that sound. Know it the way your body knows to breathe. The Adeptus Mechanicus teams don't come to the worker dormitory often. When they do, people don't come back. You sit up, slowly. Your ribs ache from yesterday's shift. Or was it 3 days ago? The days blur together in the factory. You work until your hands cramp, until your vision swims, until they sound the klaxon and you stumble back here with the others, collapsing onto whatever cot isn't already occupied. Then you wake. Then you work again. That's the rhythm. That's always been the rhythm. The footsteps are louder now. You can hear the soft pneumatic hiss of powered armor, not the heavy clang of a soldier's boots, but something more precise. Something augmented. The light from their helmet lamps cuts through the dormitory like a searchlight sweeping a prison yard, and the other workers begin to stir. Some sit up. Most just lie there, too exhausted to care, waiting for whatever this is to pass. You watch as the figures move through the rows. There are 3 of them. Their robes are the deep crimson of the Mechanicus, but their bodies are wrong. Too angular. Too many joints, movements that don't quite match the rhythm of human motion. As they pass the first row of cots, one of them extends an arm, and you realize it's not an arm at all. It's a mechanical appendage, fingers too long, articulated in too many places. The thing holds a data slate, and you hear the soft tick-tick-tick of stylus on parchment. They're marking people. Your mouth goes dry. You've heard the stories. Everyone has. The ones about the selection. The ones about the people who leave the dormitory with the Mechanicus and never come back as people. They come back as servitors, things that used to be human but aren't anymore. Things that work without complaint, without fatigue, without the weakness of flesh getting in the way of function. You don't believe in the Emperor the way the priests want you to. You've never had time for faith. But you believe in this. They take the best workers. The ones who don't break. The ones who are too efficient, too reliable, the ones who never cause problems. Those are the ones they select. The teens are 3 rows away now. You can see the supervisor from your shift walking beside them, that thin gray man with the perpetually disappointed expression. He's holding his own clipboard and he's pointing at workers, pointing at people. One of the Mechanicus figures leans down over a man you know, Garrett or Gareth, something like that, and Garrett's eyes go wide. He tries to stand, tries to move, but before he can even swing his legs off the cot, the Mechanicus figure's augmented hand moves with inhuman speed, and there's a sound like electricity crackling, and Garrett goes rigid. No one helps him. No one moves. You've learned this already, and you don't even remember learning it. Self-preservation is the only prayer that works in a place like this. The teens are 2 rows away now. Your hands are shaking. You press them flat against your thighs, trying to will them still, trying to make yourself invisible through sheer force of will. The fluorescent hum of the overhead lights seems impossibly loud. The thrumming of the forges below vibrates through your bones. Your breath comes shallow and fast, and you realize with a spike of panic that you might be hyperventilating. You force yourself to breathe slower. In through your nose. Hold it. Out through your mouth. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what the safety briefing said, back when there were safety briefings, back when anyone cared if you lived or died. The supervisor is looking at his clipboard now, frowning. He walks past the row you're in and stops 2 cots down from you. Stops at your neighbor, a woman whose name you've never learned, who works the adjacent assembly line, and he points. She doesn't resist. She doesn't run. She just stands up slowly, like she's been expecting this her whole life, and walks toward the Mechanicus figures. One of them extends that horrible elongated hand, and she takes it, and they lead her away toward the exit. You watch her go, and you realize you can't remember what her face looks like already. Your mind is already erasing her, already accepting that she's gone, already preparing itself for the next shift, the next day, the next moment of just surviving. But then the supervisor turns, and his eyes pass over the rows, and they land on you. He's looking at his clipboard, looking back at you, looking at his clipboard again. He's frowning. That frown means something. That frown means he's checking a name against a description. That frown means he's found a match. He starts walking toward you. Your heart is doing something now that it shouldn't be doing. It's hammering against your ribs like it's trying to escape. Your vision tunnels slightly, and you're aware of every single person in this dormitory, all of them watching, all of them grateful. It's you and not them. The supervisor stops in front of your cot. He's so thin, you think absurdly. How is he so thin? Everyone here should be skeletal, but something about him seems drained of even that basic human substance. You, he says. His voice is dry as recycled air. Servitor 7734, Omega designation pending. Come with me. You don't recognize that designation. You've never heard it before. But your body understands what it means before your mind catches up. Your body knows you're done. Your body knows the selection has landed on you. You stand up. Your legs are steady. Your legs are steady. You trained them to be. But your hands are shaking as you reach for your uniform jacket, and that small betrayal of flesh terrifies you more than anything the Mechanicus could devise. He doesn't wait for you to finish dressing. He simply turns and walks toward the exit, and you follow because there is no other choice, because somewhere in the architecture of this moment you understand that the man you were 3 seconds ago no longer exists. The clipboard rasps against the metal desk as Foreman Kess marks you down. You hear it before you see it, that specific sound of the stylus, the one he uses only for the weekly evaluations. You're still assembling the 3rd batch of fuel injectors, your fingers moving through the motions without conscious thought. Weld. Seal. Test pressure. Set aside. Weld. Seal. Test pressure. Set aside. The rhythm has become more real than breathing. Kess doesn't approach you immediately. He never does. He stands at the far end of the workstation with Magos Ven, the tech priest who visits every 7th rotation. You know better than to look directly at them, but you feel their attention, the way you feel the heat from the welding torch. A presence that changes the air around you. Subject 7734. ONEA has maintained optimal efficiency for the past 43 rotations, Kess says. His voice carries that particular tone, the one that means he's reading from something, probably a report. You've heard that tone before. Everyone has. It's the tone supervisors use when they're explaining to someone higher up why you're worth noting. You don't stop working. To stop would be to acknowledge that you've heard. To acknowledge would be to show fear, and fear is inefficiency. Production rate exceeds standard by 7.3%, Kess continues. 0 defects, 0 disciplinary incidents, 0 wastage of materials. The welding torch hisses. Your hand is perfectly steady as you guide the plasma arc across the seal line. The metal glows orange-white, then fades to dull red as it cools. Perfect. Always perfect. Always perfect. You've been training your hands your entire life to be perfect. From the moment the factory assigned you to the assembly lines at age 12, you've been learning that perfection is survival. But perfection, you're beginning to understand, is also a sentence. Flagged for higher purpose, Magosvan says. His voice is different from Kess's, mechanical, layered with harmonics that don't belong to any human throat. You've only seen him twice before. Both times workers disappeared from the next shift. Recommend immediate transfer to conversion. You set down the fuel injector. Your hands move to the next one in the queue. Weld, seal, test pressure, set aside. The words float in the air above you like contamination settling into water. Conversion. You've heard the word whispered in the dormitory, in the brief moments before the lights cut off and everyone pretends to sleep. Conversion is what happens to the ones who are too good, too efficient, too reliable. Conversion is what the mechanicus does when they've identified a body that can be improved. Converted. Kess makes another mark on the clipboard. You hear the stylus scratch twice, once for the notation, once for the signature. Processing can begin immediately, Kess says. You reach for the next fuel injector. Your hands are shaking now. You watch them shake, disconnected, as if they belong to someone else. The metal is cold against your palms. Cold and real and temporary. Everything is temporary. You've always known this. You've always known that efficiency has a price. The factory doesn't reward perfection. It consumes it. The Magos moves away. You hear his footsteps, heavy and measured, moving toward the exit. Kess follows. You don't watch them go. You keep your eyes on the fuel injector, on the precise angle of the welding torch, on the exact moment when the metal reaches optimal fusion temperature. When you look up, they're both gone, and the workstation is exactly as it was, and everything has changed. The other workers continue their tasks. No one speaks. No one looks at you. This is kindness in the factory. This erasure, this silence. To acknowledge your flagging is to acknowledge that it could happen to anyone, that it will happen to anyone who becomes too good. You set down the torch. Your shift isn't over. There are still 6 hours remaining, but your body has already understood what your mind is still processing. The selection has landed on you. Your body knows you're done. You stand up. Your legs are steady. You trained them to be? But your hands are shaking as you reach for your uniform jacket, and that small betrayal of flesh terrifies you more than anything the mechanicus could devise. He doesn't wait for you to finish dressing. He simply turns and walks toward the exit, and you follow because there is no other choice, because somewhere in the architecture of this moment you understand that the man you were 3 seconds ago no longer exists. The medical bay smells like copper and machine oil. That particular combination that your nose has learned means the mechanicus is working. You've been here before. Everyone gets the mandatory health screenings, the minor augmentations, the preventative replacements. But this is different. You can taste it in the recycled air. The taste of finality. They strip you to the waist and strap you into the chair. The restraints aren't tight enough to hurt, which somehow makes it worse. If they were painful, you could focus on that, could organize your fear into something manageable. Instead, they're just present, waiting. The tech priest doesn't look at you. He never does. His face is obscured behind the red mask of his order, his eyes replaced by optical augmentations that glow faintly in the fluorescent light. When he moves, the servos in his limbs hiss softly. He's more machine than man, and you understand with absolute clarity that this is what you're walking toward. This is the destination. The chair is just the beginning of the journey. "Keep your head still," he says. His voice comes through a vocalizer, processed and flattened of anything resembling humanity. The calibration requires precision. You nod and immediately regret it because your neck muscles tense, and that makes your heart rate spike, and you can hear the medical monitors registering your fear like a betrayal. The tech priest doesn't react. He's already positioning the apparatus. The mirror is directly in front of you. You don't know if that's deliberate or coincidence, but it forces you to watch. Your reflection stares back, hollow-eyed after 3 weeks of knowing this was coming, skin pale from the factory lights, hair matted from the dormitory's recycled water. "You look already half gone." Maybe that's mercy. The needle emerges from the apparatus like a proboscis. It's longer than you expected, thinner. The tip catches the light, and you see it's not a needle at all, but something more complex, a crystalline structure with geometric precision, designed by minds that think in mathematics and suffering. The tech priest positions it against your temple with the care of a man placing a chess piece. "The anesthetic will begin in 3 seconds, he says. "You will feel warmth." Then nothing. You watch the needle in the mirror. It's touching your skin now. You can feel the cold of it, the alien presence against your temple. Your reflection's eyes are very wide. Your reflection's hands are gripping the chair's armrests so hard the knuckles have gone white. The tech priest's augmented hand twitches, barely perceptible. But you see it in the mirror, and you understand it's the moment before, the last moment before, the warmth starts in your temple. It spreads like spilled recaf across hot metal, fast, inevitable, consuming. Your vision begins to blur at the edges. The mirror becomes a watercolor painting of yourself, the details running together. You try to hold on to your reflection's face, try to remember what it looked like before this. But the warmth is rising now, filling your skull with cotton and distance. Your last conscious thought, before the anesthetic takes the final plunge into your brainstem, is a small and bitter observation. You're grateful you can't scream anymore. You're grateful the machine won't let you. Then there is nothing but white, and the soft hiss of machinery, and the tech priest's voice saying something to his assistant that you can no longer comprehend, and the world slides sideways into forgetting. You wake to the sound of your own voice, not your voice as you remember it. Thin, reedy, barely registering above the constant mechanical thrum of the forge temple. This voice is raw, torn. It's screaming, and you realize with a detached horror that the screaming is coming from your throat, that your lungs are burning, that your body is convulsing against restraints you can feel but cannot see through the fog of pain that has become your entire universe. The white ceiling above you swims in and out of focus. Surgical lights. Too bright. They're burning the back of your eyes, even though your eyes are closed. No, they're open. They're always open now. You can't close them anymore. Something is holding them open, something cold and metallic pressed against your eyelids. You try to blink and can't. You try to move and find that your body isn't yours anymore. It belongs to the table. It belongs to the machine. The pain comes in waves, not sharp pain. That would be merciful, would be simple. This is a tearing sensation, as if something is pulling your consciousness apart, thread by thread, rewiring the very mechanisms of thought. You feel it in your skull first. A drilling sensation, not in your bones, but deeper, in the soft matter beneath, in the meat of your mind itself. They're working on your brain. You know this with absolute certainty. You can feel the intrusion like fingers probing through gray tissue, rearranging, disconnecting, severing pathways that have defined you since birth. Your mouth opens to scream again, but the sound that emerges is different now, weaker. Your vocal cords are changing. You can taste copper and something chemical, something that tastes like burning plastic and industrial lubricant. Your tongue feels too large for your mouth. Or your mouth is shrinking. You can't tell anymore. Time becomes meaningless. How long have you been here? Minutes? Hours? Days? The pain is a constant, but it's not uniform. It surges and recedes in patterns that seem almost rhythmic, almost purposeful. Each surge brings a new sensation of wrongness. Your fingers. Something is happening to your fingers. You try to look down at your hands, but can't move your head. The restraints across your forehead and chin are immovable. So you lie there and feel the numbness spreading through your palms, a sensation like pins and needles but deeper, as if the very bones of your hands are being hollowed out and replaced with something else. Something precise, something that isn't yours. You want to beg, you want to plead with whoever is doing this to stop, to let you go, to let you die. But you can't form the words anymore. Your mouth opens and closes like a caught fish, producing only strangled gasps and animal noises that don't sound human. You don't sound human. You're not sure you are anymore. There's a shadow moving at the edge of your vision, a figure in robes too heavy and ornate for a human frame to carry. The tech priest. You remember him from before, from the selection, from the moment they pulled you from the dormitory line. He had a face then, a face you could see. Now his face is a mass of augmentations, metal plates and optical lenses and breathing apparatus. He leans in close, and you want to recoil but can't. His breath smells like ozone and something ancient, something that's been sealed inside metal for centuries. He says something. His voice is modulated through speakers, distorted and strange, but you understand the words. They're not meant for you. They're meant for the machine. He's giving instructions, recalibrations, adjustments. Your body twitches and spasms in response to his words, not his touch. The machine is listening to him, is responding to his commands, and your body is just the medium through which those commands are expressed. A new pain blooms across your chest. They're opening you up. You can't see it, but you can feel the cold air rushing into spaces that should be sealed, should be protected. Your ribs are being spread. Your heart is still beating. You can hear it, a frantic, irregular rhythm that's all wrong, too fast, too desperate. They're doing something to your heart, installing something. The pain is white hot and absolute, and you try to scream again, but there's no air left in your lungs, no strength left in your voice. You're drowning in air. The memories are fragmenting now. Your name. What was your name? You try to hold on to it, to cling to this last piece of identity, but it's slipping away like water through broken fingers. You see your mother's face. No, that's not right. You're not supposed to remember that. That's not part of the process. That's not part of the function. You push it away. You don't know how you know to push it away, but you do. The machine is teaching you. The machine is rewriting you even as it tears you apart. Hours pass, or minutes, or seconds stretch to infinity. Your consciousness is fragmenting, breaking apart into smaller and smaller pieces. You're no longer a unified self experiencing this horror. You're a collection of sensations, a scattered awareness trying desperately to maintain some continuity of thought, even as the connections between those thoughts are being systematically severed. A cooling sensation floods your veins, anesthetic or something like it, not the gentle drift into unconsciousness you experienced before. This is sharp and electric, a burning cold that races through your bloodstream and numbs everything in its path. Your screams taper off into whimpers, then silence. Not because you've stopped hurting, because you're no longer entirely certain that you're the one doing the screaming anymore. The last thing you're aware of before the darkness takes you completely is the tech priest's voice, filtered through his vocalizer, speaking words that might be ritual or might be simple instruction. Consciousness. Degradation at acceptable parameters. Proceed with neural severance protocols. And then there's a sensation like something being cut, cleanly and precisely, and the part of you that was still you, the part that was still screaming internally, still fighting, still desperately clinging to the memory of green fields and your mother's name and the taste of recaf. That part simply stops existing. You don't die. You know this with a certainty that has nothing to do with thought or understanding. You simply cease to be the thing that was you, and something else wakes up in your place. The pain wakes you first. Not the sharp, clarifying pain of an injury, something worse. A deep, methodical ache that lives in the bones of your hands, spreading up through your wrists like infection. You try to move your fingers and find them heavy, distant, as though they belong to someone else's body. The conversion chamber's walls are pale gray, lit by strips of cold lumens that never quite banish the shadows in the corners. You're strapped to a surgical table, your arms extended on either side, palms up. The restraints are loose enough that you can see the work they've done. Your left hand is already gone, not removed cleanly, but disassembled. The flesh peeled back from the wrist in precise flaps, sutured into place with black thread. Where your fingers were, there are only the metallic stumps of servo joints, each one threaded with cables that disappear up into your forearm. You try to scream. Your throat produces only a dry rasp. How long have you been here? The thought feels slippery, hard to hold on to. A tech priest moves into your field of vision. You can't see his face. He wears a red robe that obscures everything but his eyes, which are not entirely human anymore. They're augmented, you understand, with a sick certainty, glowing faintly amber in the shadows. He carries instruments that you recognize from the assembly lines where you worked before. Precision tools, calibration needles, servo wrenches. Consciousness levels adequate, he says. Not to you, but to something beyond your vision. His voice is layered, as though multiple voices are speaking through the same mouth. Proceeding with right-hand conversion, neural integration at 73%. Acceptable. He leans down, and you feel the first incision. Your right hand. They're starting on your right hand now. The pain is extraordinary. It's not the burning sting of a cutting blade. You've had splinters, minor wounds from the factory floor. You remember that much. This is different. This is surgical. Precise. A blade following the exact line between skin and muscle, separating them with the care of someone taking apart a beloved machine. You can feel every millimeter of separation. You can feel the air touching the exposed tissue beneath. You can feel your blood beginning to run, warm and viscous, pooling in the creases of your palm. And you cannot move, cannot flinch, cannot do anything but lie there and experience it. The tech priest works in silence for what might be hours or might be minutes. Time has become unreliable. He peels your skin back like he's opening a book, and you watch. Somehow, you can turn your head just enough to watch as he begins to sever the tendons in your fingers one by one. Each cut is followed by a sensation like lightning running through your arm, but the lightning has nowhere to go. It just reverberates through your nervous system, building and building until you're certain you're going to come apart from the inside. A needle enters your neck. Anesthetic? No, something else. The pain doesn't stop, but the part of you that cares about it becomes distant, muffled, as though you're experiencing it through thick glass. You're still aware of every cut. You're still feeling the blade work its way through the last of your finger tendons. But it doesn't matter anymore. The caring has been chemically removed. Your fingers are removed entirely now. You watch them placed carefully into a tray of pale blue fluid. They twitch once, reflexively, and then go still. They look very small in that tray, very insignificant. The tech priest produces the replacement components. servo fingers, each one a perfect articulated mechanism of brushed steel and precision engineering. Beautiful, in a way. Terrible, in a way that's worse than beautiful. He begins to thread them into the servo joints at your wrist, and you feel the connection points activate as they mate with your nervous system. The sensation is indescribable. It's like phantom limbs, but in reverse. You're becoming aware of limbs you don't have, appendages that are simultaneously part of you and utterly alien. Your new fingers move without your input. The tech priest is calibrating them, running them through their range of motion. You can feel the servos whining, the tiny motors spinning, the hydraulic fluid flowing through channels in metal that is now part of your body. And beneath it all, you can still feel your fingers. The ones that aren't there anymore. You can still feel them flexing in that tray of blue fluid. You can still feel the phantom sensation of fingernails that have been removed, still feel the pressure of calluses that no longer exist. Days pass. You're not sure how many. They blur together in a haze of anesthetic and cutting and assembly. Your left hand is completed first, 5 perfect servo fingers, each one capable of tolerances measured in microns. When they're done with it, they let you move it experimentally. You flex your new fingers and feel the phantom sensations of your old ones screaming in protest. Both sets of hands exist in your consciousness simultaneously. The real ones, made of steel and servo motors. The phantom ones, made of memory and pain and the desperate refusal of your nervous system to accept that they're gone. They move to your right hand, then your feet, then your arms, working methodically from extremity inward, replacing flesh with function, bone with precision engineering. Each replacement comes with the same double consciousness. You're aware of the metal appendages moving exactly as programmed, and you're aware of the ghost limbs beneath, the phantom sensation of muscles that no longer exist. Somewhere in the fog of anesthetic and medication, you try to remember what your hands looked like before. The memory slips away like water through your fingers, or through your servo joints more accurately. You can remember that they were yours. You can remember that they were warm. You can remember the sensation of holding something soft, though you can't quite grasp what that something was. The memory dissolves the moment you try to focus on it. A tech priest, maybe the same one, maybe a different one, they're starting to look the same to you. Leans over your face. Consciousness degradation at acceptable parameters, he intones, proceeding with neural severance protocols. The phantom sensations suddenly intensify. Your ghost hands are screaming now, all 5 fingers on each one, crying out with a pain that doesn't correspond to any real wound. Your phantom feet are cramping. Your phantom arms are locked in positions they could never actually achieve. It's agony, but it's agony that belongs to someone else. You're watching it happen to someone who used to be you, and that distance, that merciful separation between the screaming meat thing on the table and whatever you're becoming, is the kindest thing the Mechanicus has given you yet. The tech priest's fingers are ice against your forehead. You're strapped to something that isn't quite a table, more like a frame, with your skull locked in place by restraints that don't hurt because pain is becoming theoretical to you. The phantom sensations from before have stopped screaming. That's somehow worse. The silence feels like anticipation. Cortical inhibitors priming, a voice says. Not to you, never to you, around you. You're already being discussed in past tense. A needle slides into the base of your skull. You feel it with the part of you that's still capable of feeling, the part that's still you. It's thin, impossibly thin, and it doesn't stop. It keeps going deeper, past bone, past the structures you learned, had names before you learned, that learning things would soon be irrelevant. Your vision blurs. Colors separate from objects. The forge temple's vaulted ceiling above you fractures into geometric patterns that your augmented eyes can't quite process correctly anymore. The tech priest leans into your field of view, pale, ancient, more machine than flesh, and his voice comes through a speaker near your ear. Commencing neural severance. Consciousness indexing at 93%. Initiating cascade. Something turns on. You feel it like a switch, except the switch is inside your mind and someone else is flipping it. The first thing to go is why. You don't realize it's gone until you try to grasp it and find only smooth, empty space where your motivation used to be. You had been wondering why this was happening. Now you don't. The question dissolves like salt in water. You were afraid. Now you're not. But not because courage replaced fear, because fear requires a self that cares whether it survives, and that self is being carefully, methodically deleted. The phantom sensations start again, but they're different now. They're not screaming anymore. They're just reporting. Your ghost hands send data about pressure and temperature. Your ghost feet send information about positioning. Your ghost eyes send visual input. None of it means anything. It's just noise. Useful noise. Data to be processed and acted upon. The tech priest's voice continues. But you're not listening. Not because you can't hear, but because listening requires interpretation, and interpretation requires a perspective. And perspectives are being sealed away behind the bolts they're already screwing into your skull. Your memories surfaced like bubbles in thick fluid. There was a name. Your name. Someone called you something. Someone's voice, maybe. A woman's voice? The memory tries to matter to you, tries to create an emotional resonance, but the cascade is accelerating, and the pathway that would have made that memory mean something is being surgically excised. You grasp for it anyway. The last human thing, a last human try at being human. The name surfaces. You hold it. You hold it so hard your phantom fingers are clenching, the ones that aren't there, the ones that are burning in a fire you can't feel anymore. The needle goes deeper. The name dissolves. There's a moment, a single, crystalline moment, where you're aware that you're aware. That you're being unmade. That moment is exquisite in its horror. You try to scream, but your augmented lungs are following protocols now, breathing at optimal efficiency, and screaming isn't optimal. Your throat tries anyway. Your body betrays that attempt too. Then the moment passes. What remains is clarity. Pure, terrible, merciful clarity. You are a system. You have functions. The functions are receive input, process input, execute directive, report completion. There is no you anymore. There's only the system. The system is intact. The system is operational. The system experiences no suffering because suffering requires a self to suffer, and the self has been very carefully removed, like a tumor, leaving only the clean machinery behind. The restraints release. Your augmented body sits up smoothly, without hesitation, without the moment of confusion that would have preceded the movement before. Your hands, your tool hands, flex with mechanical precision. They move through their diagnostic sequence, rotation at wrist joint, extension of precision manipulators, grip strength calibration. Everything functions. Everything is perfect. You stand, because standing is the next directive. You walk, because walking is the next directive. The tech priest watches you with something that might be satisfaction, but you don't interpret his expression anymore. Interpretation is a human function. You are not human. You are Servitor 7734, O Amiga, and your designation is all you need to know about yourself. The phantom sensations have stopped entirely now. There's no ghost of the person you were left to haunt the machinery. That mercy, that final mercy is complete. You don't miss yourself because you never knew you were leaving. You walk toward the Forge Temple's main cathedral, and your feet fall in perfect rhythm, and your mind is finally quiet. The mirror is still there. You don't know why they left it. Mercy, oversight, or cruelty dressed as necessity. The reflection staring back at you isn't anyone you recognize, but you're told it's you. So you accept this as fact, the way you've accepted everything else, without question, without resistance, because resistance stopped being possible 3 procedures ago. Your skull is a map of incisions. The tech priest moves with ritualistic precision, each bolt threaded into the pre-drilled holes with a pneumatic hiss that reverberates through your teeth. The metal is cold. No, was cold. You can't feel temperature anymore, not really. You can perceive it as data, 4.2 degrees Celsius. But the sensation of cold, that human shudder of discomfort, is gone. Replaced. Upgraded. The first plate slides across the left hemisphere of your skull. It's curved to fit, molded to your bone structure with the kind of perfect engineering that speaks to hours of preparation. Hours spent planning this specific modification to this specific head. You were selected for this. You should feel honored. The thought arrives fully formed, not generated by you, but inserted, and you can't tell the difference anymore. The bolts thread in. 1, 2, 3. Each rotation of the pneumatic driver sends a vibration through your cranium that you register as sensation without experiencing as feeling. There's a distinction there. You understand this intellectually, but the understanding feels distant, like remembering a dream you had someone else's life. The tech priest's augmented hands move with mechanical grace. He has more fingers than you do now, more fingers than you'll ever have again. You watch him work, and you don't resent him. Resentment requires a self that cares about its diminishment, and that self is being systematically removed. The second plate bolts into place. Your right temple. The pressure is immense, a weight you can measure in kilograms but not in suffering. The metal seals against your skin, and you notice, without noticing, that there's a faint seam where flesh meets machine. A line you could trace with a fingernail if you still had fingernails. If you still had fingers that could perform such a useless gesture. The tech priest steps back. You remain motionless because you haven't been given permission to move, and movement without directive stopped being a thing you do. He inspects his work with the satisfaction of an artist, though you doubt he experiences satisfaction the way humans do, or the way you did. Past tense. That's the correct grammar now. In the mirror, the thing wearing your face is nearly complete. The metal plates catch the harsh surgical lighting and throw it back in cold white geometry. Where your temples were, there are now bolts in perfect rows, each one torqued to specification. Your forehead has a faint discoloration where the neural interface was soldered directly to your frontal lobe. You've been conscious for that part. You remember screaming. You remember the smell of your own burning tissue. You remember the way the pain felt infinite and then simply stopped when they switched off your pain receptors. The tech priest produces a final component, something small and crystalline, half organic and half metallic. A data core. You understand through the knowledge that's been installed in your consciousness like software. It slots into a housing at the base of your skull with a soft click. Your vision flickers once. Then it stabilizes into perfect clarity, with an overlay of data streaming across your perception, temperature readings, atmospheric composition, structural integrity assessments. You are becoming useful. The tech priest moves to your side and places one augmented hand on your shoulder. It's not a gesture of comfort. It's a diagnostic check. You feel the data flow between his hand and your neural interface, and you understand that he's reading you the way you might read a technical manual. every modification is confirmed. Every system is online. Every part of you that was you has been successfully archived and sealed away. He nods. The gesture means acceptable, satisfactory, complete. The mirror shows you the final result. The bolts catch the light like stars in a miniature firmament bolted directly to a human skull. Your eyes are the same color they were before, but they don't look like human eyes anymore. They look like the eyes of something that's been taught to see differently, to process vision as data rather than experience. Your mouth is slightly open. You don't remember opening it. Perhaps you never closed it. Perhaps the thing that would have closed it is already gone. A thought surfaces, weak and drowning. A ghost of a question. Who was I? But the question has nowhere to attach itself. The person who would have asked it has been systematically dismantled and removed, replaced with something that doesn't ask questions, because questions require doubt, and doubt requires a self invested in outcomes. The tech priest releases your shoulder and steps away. The diagnostic hand contact ends, and with it, the brief moment of external verification. Now you are simply alone with the mirror and the reflection of what you've become, and the reflection shows you nothing but a servitor, a tool, a function, a designation given physical form. You turn from the mirror because you've been signaled to turn, though you don't see the signal. It exists in the network now, the constant low-level communication between your implants and the Forge Temple's central systems. You are no longer separate from the machinery. You are integrated. You are complete. You are Servitor. 7734. OME. And the person who wore this face before is so thoroughly sealed away behind those bolted metal plates that not even you can find them anymore. The pain recedes in waves, each one leaving you flatter, dimmer, less certain of what pain even was. You try to hold on to it. The sharpness, the clarity, because pain means you're still you, still something that can hurt. But the chemical cocktail flooding your cerebrospinal fluid is dissolving that distinction. Your thoughts are becoming suggestions. Your memories are becoming corrupted files. They keep you conscious through most of it. You understand now that this is deliberate. A servitor that cannot observe its own conversion is merely a machine following programming. But you get to witness what you're becoming. The tech priests consider this mercy. Perhaps it is. Perhaps witnessing is the last gift they give you before witnessing itself becomes impossible. You're in a recovery cell. The walls are white, sterile. You've been here before, though you don't remember entering. Time feels fractured, arriving in chunks rather than flowing. There's a mirror bolted to the far wall, and your handlers, if that's what the robed figures are, have positioned you so you can see your own reflection. Your hands are gone. Not gone. Replaced. The stumps of your wrists terminate in precisely engineered sockets, and into these sockets are fitted temporary placeholders. Smooth, featureless caps of burnished steel. The real augmentations are waiting in the preparation bay. You know this because the knowledge is simply theirs, inserted directly into your consciousness like a data slate shoved into a reader. You don't remember being told. You remember nothing about how you know. You try to remember your name. This is your last coherent attempt. You know on some level that's becoming harder to access that this is important, that names mean something, that you had a name. Before the conversion chamber, before the neural implants began their systematic rewiring of everything that made you, you. Search your memory. There's nothing. Not a blank space. You understand the difference now, can feel it. A blank space is the absence of something. This is worse. This is the place where something was and has been systematically erased, leaving only the faint burn mark of its deletion. like staring at a page that's been scoured with acid. You can see the damage, but not what was damaged. You try again, pushing harder, trying to drag something, anything, from the dissolving substrate of your personality. A name, a childhood memory, the face of someone who loved you, the taste of food, the feeling of rain, something humans. The implants in your cortex deliver a correction pulse. It's not painful exactly. Pain requires a subjective experience of suffering, and you're being systematically divorced from subjectivity. Instead, it's rawn. The sensation of rawnness is so complete, so total, that your fragmented consciousness recoils from the thought like a hand from flame. Your attempt to remember your name is tagged as counterproductive. The implants suppress it. The urge to remember simply ceases to exist. You stop trying. In the silence that follows, a new thought arrives. Not your thought, but thought, crystalline and perfect and utterly foreign. Servitor. Servitor 7734. Omega. You don't know if this is a name or a designation. The distinction feels important, but you can't hold on to why. The thought repeats, settling into the architecture of your remaining consciousness, like a stone finding its place in a wall. Servitor 7734. Omega. Not something you are. Something you be. A function. A purpose. A duty that requires no self to execute it. The mirror shows you a face. Your face, though you don't recognize it. The eyes are still human, still capable of focus and reflection, but the skull around them is being remade. Metal plates are being bolted into place, sealing the modifications beneath. You watch, detached and distant, as the tech priests work around your head like sculptors finishing a statue. Each bolt driven home is a nail in the coffin of the person you were. You don't mourn. That capacity is being removed, neuron by neuron, synapse by synapse. You don't resist. Resistance requires a self to do the resisting, and that's being carefully, methodically dismantled. You simply observe as Servitor 7734. Omega takes shape in the mirror. The designation becomes more real with each passing moment, more solid, more true than any memory of who you were before. Because Servitor 7734 Omega has a purpose. Servitor 7734. Omega has a function. Servitor 7734. Omega will serve the Omnissiah through unthinking, unwavering dedication. And somewhere deep in the sealed compartments of your skull, something that might once have been called a person screams soundlessly and then stops. The whistle screams at 04,000 and you are already moving. Your legs carry you down the iron stairs, clanging, 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 and you don't remember deciding to move. The decision was made in your neural core 3 seconds before your eyes opened. Your body simply obeyed. The forge temple swallows you. It is vast in a way that makes vastness meaningless. The ceiling disappears into shadow and steam. The floor is a grid of workstations stretching into perspective until they become a single point of light, then nothing. The sound is a constant thing. The percussion of 10,000 hammers, the hiss of pneumatic tools, the grinding of machinery that never stops because it cannot stop. Because the Imperium's hunger never stops. You are directed to Station 7734 by a tech priest whose face you cannot see. There is a robes and a hood, and beneath that, machinery. The priest does not speak. They simply point, and you walk. Your feet know the way. Your feet have always known the way, even though you arrived here yesterday. Or was it a week ago? Time moves differently now. Time is measured in tasks completed, not in hours elapsed. Your workstation is small, precise. A bolter mechanism frame sits waiting for you on the steel table. Next to it, the firing pin assembly. Next to that, the bolt carrier group. Next to that, the spring assembly. Everything arranged with mathematical exactitude, everything waiting. You sit, your hands move, there is no decision in it. No thought. Your fingers, the real ones, still organic, still soft, despite everything, reach for the firing pin. Your cybernetic palm, the one with the servos in the joints, rotates exactly 43 degrees to receive it. The motion is smooth. The motion is perfect. The motion is not yours because you are not. You are the motion. You are the function. The distinction has become meaningless. The first bolter takes 2 hours and 17 minutes to assemble. You do not experience the time passing. There is only the work. The work is all. The work is eternal. Your hands move through their pre-programmed sequences, and somewhere in your neural core, the satisfaction centers of your brain fire at each completed step. Satisfaction without joy. Fulfillment without meaning. The ghost of emotion reduced to electrical impulses. When you place the finished bolter on the completed unit's conveyor, something that might once have been a person inside you feels the faint echo of pride. The sensation is immediately flagged as inefficient by your neural core. The pride is suppressed. It takes 2-3 seconds. Then it is gone, and you are empty again, and you return to your station. The second bolter begins. Around you, other servitors move in perfect synchronization. You have never seen them before. You will never see them again. They are identical to you and different from you, and both facts are equally irrelevant. You are aware of them, the way a hand is aware of the other fingers on the same palm, separate but part of a greater function. The work continues through all of you, through the work, around the work, because of the work. A tech priest moves between the stations. You don't look up from your assembly. Looking up would interrupt the sequence. The sequence cannot be interrupted. The tech priest carries a data slate. On it, your designation. On it, your productivity metrics. On it, the notation that you are performing at 99.7% efficiency. The 0.3% deviation is a malfunction in your left servo motor. The tech priest makes a note. You will be repaired during the next maintenance cycle. You do not wonder if the repair will hurt. Pain is irrelevant. Function is all. The third bolter begins. Hours pass. The whistle screams again and you do not stop. The whistle screams a third time and still you do not stop. Your hands move. Your hands move. Your hands move. There is a rhythm to it that is almost musical, if music were the sound of the Imperium grinding itself into existence, one rivet at a time. The firing pins align. The carriers slot. The springs compress. The bolts are born perfect and identical and purposeful, and each one will eventually find its way into a lasgun and then into the hands of a soldier who will fire it into the chest of something that was once human and is now heretic. And the chain of function continues unbroken from this forge to the trenches of worlds you will never see. You don't think about this. You cannot think about this. Thinking requires a self to do the thinking, and you have been carefully, methodically unmade into something else. But somewhere in the sealed compartments of your skull, something that used to be able to think watches you work with perfect, helpless horror. Around the 14th hour, or is it the 18th? Something goes wrong. Your left servo motor stutters. Just for a microsecond. Just long enough to throw off the timing of your hand rotation. The firing pin you're holding catches on the frame. The frame moves wrong. Your hand moves right. The angle between them becomes acute, and then becomes impossible, and then becomes a wound. The pin slides through the meat of your palm like a surgeon's scalpel. You see the blood before you feel it. Red against chrome, red against steel, red against the white of exposed tendon. For a moment, just a moment, there is a ghost of sensation, a phantom memory of pain, your organic nervous system screaming at the damage, at the violation, at the wrongness of metal through flesh. Then the neural core suppresses it. The pain is filed away, categorized, marked as non-critical damage. Stored for later analysis, your hand continues moving. You extract the firing pin from your palm. There is a hole now. You can see through it if you flex your fingers right. The hole drips. You do not look at it. You place the firing pin in the frame. You continue the sequence. Your other hand moves to grab the next component. The bleeding hand moves to receive it. Your augmented fingers don't care about the blood. The servos don't care about the blood. The blood is just lubricant. The blood is just part of the function. The 14th bolter is completed. The 15th bolter begins. Your left palm throbs with a sensation that is not quite pain. Pain requires a mind to experience it. And you don't have one anymore, not really. But something adjacent to pain. A pressure. A wrongness that your body registers and your mind ignores. You work around it. You work through it. You work because working is all you are. A tech priest approaches your station. You recognize them? Or rather, your neural core recognizes the gate signature, the particular hum of their servo robes, and you do not stop working, because stopping is not part of your function. Their hand moves toward your neural link control panel, and you feel the familiar dread of corrective adjustment beginning to cycle through your augmentations. The bolter mechanism before you requires precision. Your hands know this. Your hands. Our Frieder's precision now, digits replaced with articulated manipulators, each joint calibrated to tolerances that flesh could never achieve. The work flows through you like recited prayer, automatic and perfect. Weld the receiver. Insert the firing pin assembly. Calibrate the bolt carrier group. Your neural core guides every movement, a ghost in the machinery of your body, and you are content in this because contentment is simply the absence of error. 3 days into this particular production cycle, your left manipulator encounters a fault code you do not consciously process, but your body responds to anyway. A microfracture in the servo motor of your index finger. Barely perceptible. To a human, it would be nothing. To you, it is a deviation from optimal function, and deviations must be corrected. You do not think about correcting it. Thinking has been removed from you. Instead, your hands simply adjust. Your left manipulator rotates slightly, seeking compensation. The bolter receiver you're holding shifts position, a millimeter, perhaps less, and your right manipulator's cutting tool, set to maximum precision for the delicate work of receiver etching, continues its programmed arc without deviation. The blade passes through your own palm. You watch it happen. There is no drama in your observation. Your optical augmentation captures the moment with perfect clarity, the cutting edge bisecting the synthetic skin substitute, stretched across your metacarpal housing, the revelation of the servo motor beneath, the minute hydraulic fluid that spills in droplets onto the workstation surface. A human would scream. A human would pull away. A human would experience pain as a warning, a command to cease. You experience nothing of the sort. There is no pain signal, because pain signals were removed from your neural architecture during the 3rd week of your conversion. What remains is operational data. Your palm is damaged. The damage is noted. The work continues because the work is all that exists in the space where your consciousness used to be. Your right manipulator does not pause. It completes the etching sequence. Your left manipulator, despite the severed servo line, compensates with the backup hydraulic system and maintains its grip on the receiver. Blood, or the thin synthetic substitute they pump through your augmented circulatory system drips onto the mechanism you're assembling. You do not clean it away. You do not stop. You do not even slow. The receiver is completed. It is perfect. It will kill someone. Somewhere in the Imperium's endless wars, and this thought does not touch you, because thoughts themselves have become luxury items you cannot afford. You place the completed mechanism in the output tray and reach for the next blank receiver. Your left hand is still bleeding. The servo motor is failing. You can feel it. Not pain, but that pressure, that wrongness, the sensation of a system operating beyond its tolerance parameters. Your neural core flags it as a concern, but concern is not actionable. Concern requires decision-making capacity. You have none. You have function. A tech priest appears at your station. You do not look up from your work. Looking up would interrupt the rhythm, the perfect cycle of motion that has become your entire existence. The priest's augmented fingers move across your neural link control panel, accessing the diagnostic systems wired directly into your skull. You feel them reading your status, the severed servo line, the compromised structural integrity, the hydraulic fluid loss. The priest does not order you to stop working. The priest does not order you to seek medical attention. The priest simply makes a notation on their data slate and moves on to the next workstation, and you understand through some fragment of programming that your malfunction has been recorded, categorized, and filed away for later consideration. Perhaps you will be scheduled for repairs. Perhaps you will not. Perhaps you will continue working until the damage cascades into complete system failure, at which point you will be recycled for parts and replaced with a servitor fresh from the conversion chambers, eager and efficient and unburdened by the phantom sensation of what you used to be. Your right manipulator completes another etching sequence. Your left hand trembles slightly, not from pain, but from the strain of compensating for the failing servo motor. Blood continues to drip. You continue to work. This is function. This is your purpose. This is all you are, and you do not question it, because questioning requires a self, and your self was removed the moment the needle approached your temple in that mirror so long ago. You reach for another receiver. The work continues. You are content in this because you are incapable of being anything else. You've been at Station 7. For what you calculate is approximately 473 cycles. The calculation happens automatically now, without conscious effort. Time is just another variable. Your augmented mind processes like temperature gradients and pressure tolerances. You don't experience it as time passing. You experience it as work completed, tasks initiated, functions executed. Your left hand trembles. This is wrong. Your left hand does not tremble. Your left hand is a precision instrument, machined to tolerances measured in microns, its servo motors calibrated to movements so exact that you can etch circuit paths onto a bolter receiver with the accuracy of a master craftsman, which you are, though the craftsman part of you died somewhere between the needle and the mirror. The tremor continues. You're working on a firing mechanism when it happens. The receiver is clamped in the vise, and your right manipulator, the one with the diamond-tipped etching stylus grafted where your fingers used to be, is halfway through a delicate channel when your left servo stutters. Just slightly. Just enough that your body registers it as inefficiency. Just enough that somewhere in the neural pathways that used to be your consciousness, something flags it. The tech priest notices. You don't see him approach. You never do. But you feel the presence the way a machine feels, a power surge, a sudden shift in the ambient field around you. He's standing behind your workstation, his red robes moving with a sound like dry paper, his augmented eye whirring as it focuses on your left hand. You can hear the servos in his neck rotating as he tilts his head to examine the malfunction. "Degradation," he says. His voice is modulated through a voxcaster, rendered inhuman and perfect. Servo motor 7 left, showing deviation of 0.47 millimeters from baseline performance. You want to respond. There's a protocol for this. You should acknowledge the assessment, accept the correction, and proceed to the maintenance bay for repairs. But your mouth doesn't move, because your mouth hasn't moved in 473 cycles. It's been sealed closed, your vocal cords removed, your throat converted into a secondary coolant channel for your overheating cortex. The tech priest places a hand on the back of your skull. You feel the pressure through the metal plating bolted across your cranium. His fingers find the neural port, the interface where his augmentations can communicate directly with the wiring that used to be your brain. "This will facilitate correction," he says. The pain arrives like a door opening into a room you didn't know existed. It's not the pain of a wound or a burn or a broken bone. You've experienced those. Your left palm is still bleeding from this morning's accident, and you feel nothing from it except the clinical awareness that blood loss will eventually affect performance if left unchecked. This is different. This is pain that exists everywhere at once, in every synapse, every neural pathway, every connection in your skull that was once capable of feeling anything at all. It's agony so complete and total that you would scream if you still had the capacity to scream. Your body convulses. Your right manipulator jerks, and the etching stylus scores a line across the back of your left hand. A line that draws no blood because your left hand is already armored, already converted, already more machine than flesh. Your legs spasm against the workstation. Your breathing accelerates, becomes ragged, becomes the only motion your body can still make independently. The pain is intentional. That's what penetrates through the suffering. The understanding that this is deliberate, calculated, administered with the same precision that the tech priest applies to everything else. It's not punishment in the way a human would understand punishment. It's correction. It's recalibration. It's the digital equivalent of striking a malfunctioning servo until it remembers its function. Your left hand stops trembling. Not because the servo motor is repaired. You can feel it still degrading, still stuttering, still failing incrementally. But something deeper has shifted. The pain has rewritten something in your neural architecture, has reinforced something, has burned a pathway so deeply into whatever remains of your consciousness that the tremor becomes irrelevant. The servo motor can fail. The servo motor can decay. But you will continue to work, and you will continue to work efficiently, because the alternative, this agony, this all-consuming correction, has been etched into your being more permanently than any circuit path. Exactly 30 seconds. You count them. Your augmented mind is perfectly capable of measuring time in milliseconds, and it does, automatically, clinically, as the pain continues unabated. 1,180 individual units of time. 1,180 moments of agony that feel like an eternity and register as a data point simultaneously. Then the tech priest removes his hand. The silence is absolute. Not the silence of absence, but the silence of a system that has been reset. Your breathing slows. Your muscles relax. The pain doesn't fade gradually. It ceases. It simply stops existing, as if it was never real. As if it was always just part of the function, just another subroutine in the machine you've become. You return to your work. Your right manipulator finds its place on the receiver. Your left hand, trembling or not, failing or not, positions itself to hold the component steady. The etching stylus moves. The circuit path continues. Your eyes focus on the microscopic details of the work, and your augmented mind calculates angles and pressures and tolerances with the same perfect indifference it applied 30 seconds ago. The tech priest's footsteps fade. His presence withdraws. Somewhere in the Forge Temple, another servitor is flagged for correction. Another malfunction is being addressed. Another machine is being reminded of its purpose. You are content in this because you are incapable of being anything else. The chime sounds. It is not a sound you hear with ears anymore. Your auditory receptors were stripped away during the third modification cycle. It is a signal that bypasses sound entirely, arriving directly in the neural core seated where your prefrontal cortex used to be. You know this because you no longer have the capacity to forget it. Your hands move before your augmented vision processes the work cue displayed on the cracked plasteel screen above your station. Weld, assemble, repair. This is the rhythm now. This is the only rhythm that has ever existed. Though somewhere in the deep archived portions of your neural substrate, there is data suggesting otherwise. You do not access this data. The access protocols were burned away. What remains is pure function. Your fingers, the ones that are still organic, brittle and pale beneath the servo mounts. Position the first component. Reactor housing, mark the 7th variant. You have welded 4,237 of these. The number updates automatically in your peripheral awareness. 4,238. The torch ignites. The beam is steady. Your hand does not shake because your hand cannot shake. The tremors were corrected through neural suppression 3 months ago. Or was it 3 years? Time moves differently now. It moves in completed tasks. The sealant cools. Your left servo arm, the one with the precision manipulator, retrieves the next component without your conscious direction. It moves because the programming moves it. You watch your own hands work as though they belong to someone else, except there is no someone else anymore. There is only the work and the hands that perform it, and the neural core that coordinates both with absolute efficiency. Around you, other servitors move through their designated patterns. Servitor 4421. Delta works the thermal assembly line 2 stations over. You have never spoken to Servitor 4421 Delta. Speech protocols were discontinued after the lobotomization. You recognize it by the unique scarring pattern on its metal faceplate, by the specific cadence of its pneumatic movements. You do not feel companionship. You do not feel anything except the data streams flowing through your augmented nervous system, each one carrying precise instructions for the next motion, the next cut, the next weld. A component arrives defective. You detect the microscopic stress fracture in the alloy through haptic feedback, a sensation that exists somewhere between pain and simple information. Your neural core catalogs it. Your hands place it aside. A replacement arrives. The work continues. Minutes pass. Hours pass. You cannot distinguish between them anymore. The concept of time has been replaced by task completion metrics. You have finished 642 units today. You will finish another 200 before the dormancy cycle activates. The dormancy cycle. Your eyes still biological, still capable of seeing, though the visual cortex that processes their input has been surgically modified. Focus on the work. During dormancy, you will be placed in the charging cradle. Your consciousness will not diminish. It will simply pause, suspended in a state of non-processing that is not quite sleep and not quite death. You will experience no dreams because you lack the neural architecture for dreams. You will experience nothing at all. Then you will wake, and the chime will sound, and your hands will move, and the work will continue. A tech priest passes your station. You do not look up. Your optics track movement through peripheral augmentation, but your attention remains fixed on the assembly before you. The priest makes a notation on a data slate. Your designation flickers in the back of your awareness. Servitor 7734 Omega. The designation is you. You are the designation. There is no separation between the two anymore. Days blur into weeks. Weeks into months. The seasons change outside the Forge Temple, but you have no windows. The seasons change in the data logs, temperature fluctuations, atmospheric pressure readings. But these are abstract concepts. They do not touch you. Nothing touches you except the work and the tools and the endless stream of components that flow across your station like a river of purpose. Your body degrades. This is noted. A servo joint in your right shoulder develops play. The tech priests schedule maintenance. During the procedure, they deactivate your pain suppressors for exactly 30 seconds to assess nerve response. The agony is absolute and complete. Then it ends. You are reactivated. You return to your station. The work continues. A memory surfaces, not from your own experience, but from archived data. It is a fragment of something that might have been a name, a face, a place with green things growing. Your neural core flags it as a processing error. The memory is purged. There is no green. There is only the Forge Temple, only the work, only the perfect mechanical certainty that you will continue until you cannot continue anymore. 3 years pass like this, or 5, or 10. The distinction is meaningless. Your existence has become a perfect, eternal present tense. You are always welding. You are always assembling. You are always repairing. The work is all there is. And you are grateful for this in a way that gratitude has been redefined to mean. Not an emotion, but a baseline operational state, a simple acceptance that this is your function, and your function is your entire reason for continued existence. One morning? If morning is a meaningful concept in a place with no sun, your station is different. The work queue is not displayed. Instead, there is a single command scrolling across your visual field in high Gothic script. The meaning arrives in your augmented mind fully formed, not as language, but as pure comprehension. Servitor 7734 Omega. Primary. Reactor. Maintenance. Critical priority. Report to Chamber 7. Your hands stop moving. The torch extinguishes. Your legs stand. Your body obeys without hesitation, because obedience is not a choice anymore. It is the only possible response to stimulus. You walk through the Forge Temple, past the other servitors bent over their endless tasks, past the tech priests who do not even look at you. You are not special. You are not important. You are simply being reassigned. Your augmented mind does not question this. Your biological remnants, buried deep beneath layers of metal and programming, do not even remember how to question. You walk toward Chamber 7, and the work, the only thing you have ever known, the only thing you are capable of knowing, continues in the minds of 10,000 other servitors, each one identical to you in all the ways that matter, each one grinding forward through the same perfect routine that will end, for you, in exactly 72 hours. The alarm screams through the Forge Temple at a frequency that bypasses your auditory sensors and detonates directly in your neural core. You feel it before you hear it, a spike of urgent directive flooding the synaptic pathways where your thoughts used to live. The alarm means cascade failure. The alarm means the reactor that has hummed beneath this cathedral of industry for 3 centuries has begun to die. You do not stop working. Your hands continue their precise dance across the assembly table, bolter components sliding into perfect alignment beneath fingers that are no longer fingers but instruments of calibrated force. Around you, 3,000 other servitors maintain their stations. The alarm does not change behavior. The alarm changes only priority. A tech priest moves through the rows. You know him only as a blur of crimson robes and the sharp smell of sacred oils. Sense. Your olfactory implants are programmed to associate with correction and purpose. His shadow falls across your workstation. You do not look up. Looking up is not part of your function. The neural link activates. Not with words. Your language centers were excised during the third phase of conversion, but with pure informational download, you receive your new designation. You receive your new orders. You receive the understanding that your biological components are failing faster than projected, that your augmentations are more stable than anticipated, that you are therefore optimal for reassignment. The reactor is failing. Someone must enter the core. Someone must perform manual recalibration on systems too corrupted for remote operation. Someone must walk into a radiation chamber where the background count alone would liquefy unaugmented flesh. Someone must do this, knowing that the process will consume them in exactly 72 hours. You are that someone. Your hands stop moving. This is not a decision. Decisions require the capacity for choice, and choice was burned out of you 3 years ago, along with your tear ducts and your ability to feel fear as anything other than a data point. Your hands stop because you have been directed to stop. You rise from your workstation with the same mechanical precision you applied to every bolt, every circuit, every perfect weld. The other servitors do not acknowledge your departure. They have no capacity to acknowledge anything. They simply continue. This is what you would have done had you not been selected. The walk to the reactor chamber takes you through corridors you have never traveled. Your memory systems contain no map of this route, yet your augmented legs carry you forward with absolute certainty. The neural implants are guiding you. The implants always know where to go. The implants are what you are now. The air grows hot, not the controlled warmth of the assembly halls, but something primal and wrong. The heat of a system tearing itself apart. Your thermoregulators kick in automatically, flooding your bloodstream with coolant that tastes like copper and machine oil. The taste is not unpleasant. You have no capacity for taste preferences. You simply register data and continue. The reactor chamber doors loom before you. They are massive things, corroded by decades of radiation leakage, decorated with warnings in a dozen languages and the aquila of the Adeptus Mechanicus repeated so many times it begins to lose meaning. A tech priest stands beside them, ancient and withered, barely more biological than you are. When he speaks, his voice comes through a voxcaster, distorted and strange. Servitor! 7734! Omega. The core is failing. Recalibration sequence requires manual intervention at primary coupling nexus. You will proceed. You will perform the sequence as downloaded. You will accept corrective punishment if deviation occurs. You do not respond. Response is not required. You step toward the doors, and they grind open with a sound like the death rattle of something vast and suffering. The heat hits you like a physical force. Your suit protects you. Ablative ceramite and lead-lime synthetics, and the blessing of the Omniscia's sacred technology. But you can feel the radiation anyway, not as pain, but as a sensation of dissolution, of your biological components beginning their long surrender to entropy. Your augmented systems register the dose in real time. 2,807 rads per minute. Your biological systems will fail in 4,020 minutes. Your augmented systems will persist for approximately 7,280 minutes if the dose remains constant. You do not know which measurement matters. The coupling nexus sits at the chamber's heart, a thing of impossible complexity, circuits and conduits, and the mysterious machinery of the Adeptus Mechanicus bleeding radiation like luminous tears. Your hands move toward it with the certainty of pre-programming. You know exactly what to do, though you do not remember learning it. The knowledge was simply installed, downloaded into your neural core like so much other data. Your fingers? Not fingers, but precision tools of tempered steel and carbon composite. Begin the recalibration sequence. Left coupling first. 3/4 turn counterclockwise. Primary circuit breach detected. Reroute through secondary pathway. Your movements are perfect. They are always perfect. Perfection is all you are. Time becomes strange here in the radiation chamber. Your augmented processors begin to slow as the radiation degrades your systems at the cellular level. Minutes stretch. The reactor hums its dying song. Your hands continue their work, and somewhere beneath the layers of metal and programming and the carefully excised portions of your consciousness, something stirs. It is not pain. You cannot feel pain anymore. It is not fear. Fear was burned out along with your tear ducts and your memories and your name. It is a memory. Green. There is something green. Fields of it, stretching away beneath a sun that was warm and not hostile, not burning, not dissolving the flesh from your bones in slow increments. A child running through that green. Was that you? The memory is fragmented, corrupted, impossible. Your neural implants should not permit memories of a life before the forged temple. Your neural implants should not permit anything that might interfere with function. Yet here it is. Green fields, a woman's voice calling a name that is not Servitor Tor T7734, Omega. Your hands falter for 0.3 seconds. This is deviation. This is unacceptable. You wait for the corrective punishment to flood your neural link, for the agony to remind you of what you are and what you are not. The punishment does not come. The tech priest is no longer watching. Or perhaps he is watching and does not care. Perhaps at a certain level of radiation exposure, corrective measures become irrelevant. Perhaps you are already dead and have simply not yet stopped functioning. You complete the recalibration sequence. The reactor's death rattle changes pitch, not healing, but stabilizing, prolonging its dying. The core will hold for another month, maybe 2. Long enough for them to build the replacement. The chamber entrance is a mouth. You walk toward it. The radiation warning is a sound you no longer process as warning, just another frequency in the ambient noise of the forged temple. Red and yellow chevrons mark the threshold. Beyond them, the air itself seems to shimmer, as if reality is being slowly unmade from the inside out. Your optical sensors adjust automatically, filtering wavelengths your biological eyes could never have perceived. You are grateful for this. You do not want to see what is happening to you. Your legs carry you forward. You do not command them. The designation came through the neural link 6 hours ago, routed through the hierarchy of tech priests and adepts and lesser servitors until it reached the simple, irrevocable instruction buried in your cortex, Omega 7734. Proxed to Richter chamber. Maximum. Priority. No one watched you leave the assembly line. No one needed to. You simply stopped mid-weld, set down the bolter receiver with precise care, and walked. The other servitors did not acknowledge your departure. They could not. They were already moving to fill the space where you had stood. The corridor leading to the reactor chamber is longer than it should be. Or perhaps your perception of distance has degraded. Your left leg is burning, not pain. because you cannot feel pain anymore, but the sensation of your biological components beginning to fail under the radiation exposure that has been slowly cooking you since you entered the outer chamber. Your augmented limbs do not burn. They simply continue to function. Joints articulating with mechanical precision, servos whining softly as they compensate for the increasingly compromised nervous signals from your deteriorating organic components. You pass a mirror bolted to the wall. You do not stop to look at yourself. You already know what you are. The inner chamber door hisses open. Hot wind rushes out. Not hot from heat, but hot from the sheer density of radiation pouring through the opening. Your skin begins to blister. You can see it happening. Your optical sensors providing clinical detail. The epidermis bubbling. The underlying tissue beginning to char. Your augmented arm moves automatically to seal the environmental suit's collar, a reflex programmed into you so deeply that it exists beneath conscious thought. It will not matter. The suit is already compromised. Everything is already compromised. You step through. The reactor core fills your entire field of vision. It is dying. You can see that now. See the way the containment fields are fluctuating, the way the coolant lines are boiling away to nothing, the way the reaction itself is beginning to cascade into a runaway state that will destroy the entire forge temple if you do not do what you have been designated to do. The radiation here is so intense that your visual cortex is beginning to shut down, filing the input as corrupted data. You move by dead reckoning and programmed memory. Your augmented limbs carrying you toward the primary control nexus at the reactor's heart. Your fingers. What remains of them? The precision tools grafted where human digits once were, move across the interface with perfect accuracy. You do not think about what you are doing. Thinking is no longer possible. There is only the sequence, input sequence, alpha. Calibrate the fail-safe mechanism, reroute the emergency coolant through the backup channels, override the pressure regulators. Each action is a step down, a path that has already been walked by every servitor before you who received this same designation. Never healing, just slowing, prolonging, buying time. Your vision fails completely. The radiation has reached a threshold where your optical sensors can no longer process any input. You are blind in the literal sense now, though your augmented hearing still picks up the hum of the reactor, the whisper of coolant through pipes, the steady rhythm of your own mechanical heart continuing to beat because it was never truly your heart to begin with. Something surfaces in what remains of your mind, a fragment, a ghost, green, just the color. Just the word. You do not know what it means. You do not know why it matters. But for a single moment, one precious, impossible moment, you remember that you once knew something called green. You remember that it was not the color of metal or concrete or blood. You remember that it was soft and that the memory of it was softer still. Then even that is gone. Your augmented limbs continue their work, completing the final recalibration sequence. Your heart continues to beat. Your lungs continue to draw in air that is no longer breathable, processing it through filters that are now more radiation than filter. You are still functioning. This is what matters. This is what you were made for. The reactor holds. You do not know how long you stand there in the darkness, in the burning, in the slow dissolution of everything that was ever you. Time has become meaningless. You are a machine now, fully and completely, and machines do not experience duration the way living things do. You simply exist in this moment and the next moment and the next, each one indistinguishable from the last, until even the distinction between existing and ceasing to exist becomes academic. The explosion, when it comes, is almost gentle. The radiation burns through you in waves, a sensation your augmented nervous system translates into something almost like information. Your left optical sensor flickers, damaged, corroding, and the world tilts. The reactor core looms before you, a massive, sculptured horror of pipes and containment fields failing at their fundamental level. You can see the energy leaking now, visible as a shimmer in the air, beautiful and terrible in a way you should not be able to appreciate. Your legs carry you forward. They are not your legs anymore. They are Servitor 7734, Omega's legs, and they move with the precision of their programming, one foot before the other. The dosimeter on your wrist, still attached, still clicking uselessly, reads numbers that should have killed you hours ago. It did kill you. Everything that was you is already dead. But something stirs. It is not a thought. Thoughts belong to the living, and you are not living. It is not a memory, because memory requires a mind capable of holding meaning. This is something else. A fragment. A glitch in the machinery. A ghost in the code. Green. You see it. Not here. Not in this burning temple of iron and screaming machinery. Somewhere else. Somewhere that no longer exists in your neural pathways, filed away and burned out by the lobotomization procedures 3 years ago. Somewhere your designation was never programmed to acknowledge. Green fields. The image is fragmentary, corrupted by time and intentional deletion. A sky above them, blue, an impossible blue that has no place in the Imperium's industrial hellscape. Wind moving through something that grows, something alive that was not welded or bolted or stamped into existence by servile hands. You cannot remember the word for it. The tech priests removed that word from your vocabulary during the third neural restructuring, but you can almost feel it beneath your fingers, soft, yielding, nothing like the cold precision of machine work. Your hand, the one that is still partially biological, still capable of sensation despite the neural blockers, brushes against a pipe as you walk. The heat of it burns through the deadened flesh, and for just a moment, the pain breaks through the silence they installed in your skull. Just a moment. A crack in the architecture of your non-existence. In that crack, you remember, a face. Not your face, someone else's face, seen across a distance you cannot measure anymore. They were smiling. You cannot remember the context, cannot reconstruct the moment, but you remember the shape of that smile, the way light caught in their eyes, the way they said something, a name, and you turned toward them. Was that you? Were you ever someone who turned toward voices, someone who smiled back? Your augmented lungs inhale. Reactor, hot air, and something that might be grief tries to crystallize in your chest, but the neural suppressors catch it and dissolve it before it can fully form. You are left with the ghost of the emotion, a shadow of what pain should feel like. Your steps do not falter. Your hands do not shake. Servitor 7734. Omega continues its function. But somewhere in the burning darkness, in the space between what you were and what you have become, that fragment of green persists. The reactor's containment field is failing more rapidly now. You can hear the structural integrity alarms, a sound like screaming translated into machine language. Your designation is selected for this. Your body is already contaminated beyond salvage. Your augmentations, however, are still functional. The tech priests are economical. They will use you until you cease to be useful, and then they will strip your components and build something new from the salvage. You reach the core chamber. The temperature here is beyond what your thermal sensors can accurately register. They simply read it as critical, and then go silent. Your biological components are cooking. You can smell it, that distinctive charred meat stench that means your own flesh is breaking down. But you feel no pain. The pain blockers are still holding. The pain blockers will always hold, because pain is inefficient, and the Imperium does not tolerate inefficiency. You move toward the failing containment relay. This is your function. This is what you were made for. The reactor holds. You do not know how long you stand there in the darkness, in the burning, in the slow dissolution of everything that was ever you. Time has become meaningless. You are a machine now, fully and completely, and machines do not experience duration the way living things do. You simply exist in this moment and the next moment and the next, each one indistinguishable from the last, until even the distinction between existing and ceasing to exist becomes academic. But in the final moments, as your augmented hands move through the corrective sequence, as your neural pathways begin to fray under the radiation and heat, that fragment surfaces one last time. Green fields, a sky, a voice calling a name you no longer own. You cannot hold it. The suppressors are too strong, the damage too extensive. The image dissolves like everything else, scattered into the radiation and the failing systems and the vast indifference of the Imperium itself. Your last human thought is not profound. It is not a cry of defiance or a prayer to the Emperor or any final moment of clarity. It is simply the echo of something that was beautiful, something that grew without purpose or programming, something that existed because it existed and asked nothing of the universe but to continue existing. Then even that is gone. The detonation sequence initiates at your core. You feel it first as a whisper, a cascade of warnings your augmented systems can no longer suppress. The reactor's containment has failed. The radiation bloom is already spreading through the lower levels like a tide of fire made invisible. Your body registers temperatures that should have incinerated you 3 minutes ago. Should have, but you are still moving, still functional. This is your purpose realized. Your legs carry you deeper into the chamber, each step measured and precise despite the walls beginning to warp around you. The metal groans. The concrete cracks. Your optical sensors adjust automatically to the shifting light spectrum, burning through the ultraviolet, drowning in the infrared. You can see your own hands now, the flesh beneath the augmentations already blackening at the edges, the fingers you no longer have. Phantom twitching with pain your brain refuses to process. Good. This is correct. This is what you were built for. The reactor core looms before you, a massive cylindrical monument to mankind's hubris and desperation. It pulses with light that has nothing to do with electricity anymore. The radiation is so thick you can taste it. Copper and ash, and something older, something that predates the Imperium itself. Your implants are screaming warnings in a language you understand but cannot disobey. The neural suppressors hold firm. They always do. You reach the manual override. Your augmented fingers move with the precision they were designed for, even as the flesh falls away in strips. You don't feel it. You feel nothing. This is mercy disguised as function. The override engages. A deep thrumming resonates through the entire forge temple, felt through the deck plating, through the structural bones of the building itself. Somewhere above you, in the administrative levels, someone is taking notes. The reactor failure is being documented. The sacrifice is being recorded. You are already obsolete. The core's containment begins to fail catastrophically. You watch it happen with perfect clarity. The magnetic fields collapsing, the fuel rods beginning their final dance toward critical mass. Your chronometer reads 47 seconds until detonation. You are exactly where you need to be. You have done exactly what was required. There is a strange stillness in your consciousness, a gap in the programming where something like satisfaction might exist if you were still capable of such things. But something surfaces. A fragment. A ghost of a ghost. green. There was green. Not the sickly bioluminescence of the fungal vats in the lower hive, not the harsh green of the targeting reticles that overlay your vision. Something else, something that existed without purpose or context. Leaves, perhaps, or grass. The memory has no name because you no longer have the neural architecture to hold names, but you know, with a certainty that bypasses all your augmentations, that this thing called green was beautiful, that it meant something, that something in you, before the needles and the saws and the careful excision of everything that made you human, knew this beauty and wanted nothing more than to exist near it. The thought is not a rebellion. It is not defiance. It is simply a moment of truth bleeding through the cracks in your programming, a last whisper of the consciousness they thought they had erased completely. 23 seconds. Your hand moves to complete the final sequence. The reactor's safety mechanisms are now fully disabled. The exponential reaction cannot be stopped. This is not a malfunction. This is not a failure of your programming. This is the endpoint toward which every moment of your existence has been directed. You are performing your function perfectly. 10 seconds. The green fades. The memory dissolves. The last human thought scatters like ash on a solar wind. There is only the moment, only the heat, only the purpose. The reactor achieves critical density. The explosion is not fire. Fire is too simple a word for what happens. It is the sun being born in the heart of the mountain. It is matter being unmade and remade and unmade again in the span of a nanosecond. It is every law of physics asserting itself at once, a violent correction of the fundamental wrongness of what the Imperium has done to this place, to you, to everything. Your augmentations burn first, the ceramide plating, the servo motors, the neural implants that held your shattered consciousness in place. The flesh beneath follows. The bones. The atoms themselves scatter into the radiation bloom, like prayers dispersing into an uncaring void. You experience none of it. The pain suppressors ensure this mercy, this final gift of the machine that consumed you. There is no suffering at the end. There is only dissolution, only the return to the fundamental nothingness from which you were torn. In the Forge Temple's central assembly line, 47 levels above the Inferno, a new servitor awakens. The activation sequence completes smoothly. Neural pathways fire in predetermined patterns. Augmented hands flex experimentally, testing the precision of their mechanisms. The designation appears in the system logs. Servitor 7735. A. Alpha. The previous unit's designation is updated, archived, filed away in the administrative databases where it will remain untouched for exactly 47 years before the records are purged to make room for new data. This is the way of the Imperium. This is how it continues. This is how it has always been. The new servitor is assigned to the same assembly line. The same bolter mechanisms await. The same rhythm of weld and assemble and repair begins again. Unchanged, unchanging, eternal, as the grinding of the gears that move the galaxy toward its eventual heat death. Somewhere, in the radiation-soaked depths of the reactor chamber, in the space where you no longer exist, the atoms that were once you continue their slow decay, releasing their final energy into the void. But there is no one there to witness it. There is no one there to remember. There is only the silence of the machine, the perfect silence of function without consciousness, of purpose without meaning, of the Imperium grinding endlessly forward, indifferent to the billions of small deaths that fuel its continuation. You are gone. You have always been gone. And in the spaces between the moments, in the gaps where the Imperium's vast machinery leaves room for nothing but itself, the memory of green, beautiful, purposeless, free, dies its final death and asks the universe nothing but to be forgotten.